If you're not living under a rock, you may have heard how important chips are to our daily lives. From our cars to TVs, they power everything. So when it came to making semiconductor chips in India, Micron came under the spotlight in 2023. The company suddenly became the talk of the town when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi got Micron to sign a deal to set up a semiconductor plant in India. Within 3 months, Micron broke grounds in India in Gujarat. The company already operates engineering and R&D centers in Hyderabad and Bangalore and are expected to roll out the first set of India-assembled chips from Gujarat by 2025. So we decided to travel to Hyderabad to catch up with company's India Managing Director Anand Ramamoorthy in this edition of Corner Office. Anand Ramamoorthy, you're a tough man to catch, sir. Thank you very much for speaking to Newsline. I want to begin with the most basic question first, which is coming to everybody's mind these days, and that is, what are semiconductors and why is there so much buzz?
No, wonderful, Shweta. First of all, welcome to Micron Hyderabad. Glad to be having you here and hosting you here. Listen, semiconductors have been in vogue for a very long time. It has caught most people's imagination in the recent decade. They are so foundational to almost everything we do in our life. From the phones we carry, the PCs we access for information, the data centers that provide us with so much of insights and inferences. Almost every aspect of our life is bounded by what we call the chip. The parallel that I always like to give, though it's a little cheesy for many reasons, like semiconductor is like the pizza base. You know, everything we do, all the toppings on top of it. It is foundational, it's fundamental, and every country is slowly but surely realizing that they got to truly invest a little more in semiconductors for many reasons, including geopolitics, including stability in terms of how you control and access technology. So it is thankfully back in vogue.
Micron has been in India since 2019. I want to come to your manufacturing, your ATMP facility in Gujarat later. But let's talk about what you do here in Hyderabad as well as Bangalore.
It's my favorite question, so I will be very expansive in how I answer this. Listen, we have been a little late to India compared to our peers. Some of our semiconductor peers have been operating in India for many decades now. So we came a little late to India in some ways. But when you come late, you have the advantage of having a playbook that is based on what has worked well for everyone else. I think our timing was very good because it was a place when India was beginning to truly bloom in more ways than one. So though late to India, we have had almost a non-linear growth pattern in the last 4.5 years. We've grown from almost nothing to almost 5,000 odd professionals, contractors and everything included. And we call it the fastest semiconductor ramp in the history of India. So it's a headcount ramp for sure, but we've also made sure there is a balanced growth in terms of headcount, competency and innovation. So Micron India today is very, we're almost boastful of saying that we've had close to 1,000 plus inventions and disclosures come out from this operations in the last 4.5 years. So it's been a very strong, well-rounded journey, combination of headcount, competencies, top line and bottom line impact for Mother Micron, and the journey has just started in my mind.
Well, I think last year was a significant year for Micron in India, and I think a lot of people who didn't really know of Micron suddenly got to know in September of 2023 when you started groundbreaking ceremony within a couple of months after Prime Minister visited the US, and the groundbreaking ceremony for that ATMP plant in Gujarat. What's the progress like so far?
No, the progress is wonderful. I think our CEO often reminds us that his confidence in betting on India, on top of the great policy initiatives from the government of India, the whole India semiconductor mission, but he also derived a lot of confidence from the 4 years of India operations. We've had a very good operation. There is no shortage of talent pool. Of course, there are shortages in some pockets, but India's largely scalable and scalable talent, the very stable policy and political environment, they're all factors. And
why Gujarat?
Yeah, interesting. Listen, we have a very...
Is it because it's close to Prime Minister, or there's more to it?
No, you know, I'll tell you this. We, being a very large manufacturing company, we almost have a strong playbook as to how we pick options. Like recently we chose Syracuse in North America for our fab, right? So we have a playbook. We look at almost all the factors. There are many states in contention, as you can expect. There is a clearly, very well-established process as to how we get there. And of course, Gujarat has pedigree in manufacturing. The place that we are setting up our plant already has the likes of Tata and others who have already set up plants. It's not like a virgin manufacturing territory. So I think a lot of factors come in the favor of Gujarat eventually, but a lot of states were in contention.
As a player and as a major player in the semicon ecosystem, how far have we come?
I think it's a fair question, and we assess and reflect on this all the time. Shweta, there are possibly 4 or 5 different cycles to semiconductors. There's clearly an R&D engineering arm, which India has been pretty good at. We had our first engineering operations that TI set up in the late 80s, early 90s, right? Then we have the likes of Intel and others growing and scaling in the country. That's one arm of semiconductor value chain. There's clearly what I call manufacturing, both front end and back end. You're seeing more and more announcements come up. So that's beginning to blossom in the country. There is obviously the semiconductor market in India. India is also a large semiconductor market, growing almost sequentially year on year. And the last part
expected to be about $100 billion.
That is right. $100 billion by 2030. You're right. And it's still relatively small, but the growth, because of some unique market segments like EV and other markets, it has become much more material and substantial in the last couple of years. So the last part, which I think India has to battle and grapple with, is what I call advanced R&D, right? We do a lot of what I call foundational engineering work in the country, but there is also a piece which we call very advanced R&D, where we are choosing the right materials for the next transistor node. We are choosing the right kind of dielectrics, all these pieces that are even further from regular routine engineering. It is very specialized talent. It is not where India is ready yet, but that's a discussion we're beginning to have with the government of India and our ecosystem. So when you put those 4 pieces together, engineering, manufacturing, consumption market, advanced R&D, you're talking of a very holistic semiconductor value chain.
How important is India as a market in your global vision going forward?
Micron is very strategic about India. Our decision to invest in manufacturing in less than 4 years of India operation is testimony to the fact that we truly believe this is a place where we want to build our scale and operations. I think the value chain is evolving. The beauty of manufacturing is not just a Micron coming and setting a plant. Every time we set up an operation, almost 70, 80 strategic vendors start beginning to look at India. Not all of them will set up shop in the country, but some of the strategic ones. In fact, we had one of them actually announce at the Vibrant Gujarat Summit that they are going to be setting up manufacturing next to ours. It's called manufacturing co-location. So we're going to start pulling a lot of the supplier and vendor base into the country. The next logical step could be that whatever we manufacture in India is fed into our customer factories in India. Right. That is still many, many years away. But think of this beautiful 360 story as and when that happens. We design something in India by Indian engineers, gets manufactured in the country, and gets fed into the local consumption market.
We see the electronic story playing up also in a big way, where India is making a lot of headways when it comes to manufacturing phones in India, not so much IT hardware, but as far as companies that feed into semiconductor, that value chain, those suppliers and vendors, are they also coming in?
But they are. Listen, it's very hard to speak for an entire ecosystem, and I have to be careful when I say that. But I think we are probably at least 5 to 10 years away. Okay. But we have enough evidence to suggest that will eventually happen. Okay. We have seen that happen in other markets because it's a logical thing to do. Imagine the advantage of being able to feed into products coming out of a factory from a supply chain, reliability, time, cost, effort standpoint. Right. It truly makes a lot of sense. Supply chain is a very important dynamic in the semiconductor industry. So I truly believe that 5 to 10 years down the line, that kind of phenomena is bound to happen.
You're saying that country is doing really well when it comes to stability in policy. Sure. One of the policies, of course, is the PLI scheme, sure, which is hoping to make India the semiconductor manufacturing hub. Now, going forward, now that we're seeing some sort of initial interest, how do you see PLI changing or transforming to cater to this growing market or booming market?
We are not a direct beneficiary of PLI. We benefited from what is called the India Semiconductor Mission outlay, the $10 billion kitty that was provided as an incentive bucket for people taking the first move. But what I've heard of PLI is fairly successful, right, both in terms of the right triggers like mobile and other handset business. The incentive model works. You could debate how much incentive to give, how much not to give to an extent. But listen, that's the only way sometimes to motivate an entire ecosystem to move from place A to B. No wonder there is manifestation of PLI in different sectors now. It is beginning to grow both deeper and wider. So I think it's been a very positive policy direction from the government of India.
Okay, and as far as Micron is concerned, now we have you in Hyderabad, here in this facility. We have you in Bangalore. There's an ATMP coming up in Gujarat. What other geographies are you targeting? Are you looking to partnership perhaps with some other players? Is something on that order in line where we could see some partnerships between Micron and existing players in the country? What's in store?
Listen, like any company, we would constantly scan the market. Very happy with our hedged investments in the cities of Bangalore and Hyderabad. In fact, if you ask any semiconductor professional, they will tell you that Hyderabad and Bangalore provide the perfect yin-yang in terms of skill set, scale. So very happy with that dual investments we have in those two cities. No active plan to grow beyond that. But you know, I think one thing I love about India, I keep saying it, the talent mobility factor is highest both inside and outside the country. I travel to Taiwan, I travel to Japan, I travel to Italy. The odds of finding an Indian engineer is always high because our ability to grow, our ability to grow and embrace a life and career outside of our comfort zone is among the best out there. So, you know, if you have a great job for a great engineer, he will make effort to move from city A to Hyderabad or to Bangalore. So talent mobility is still not a big concern. People are willing to make those bets, young people in particular. So happy with the choices we made so far. We have a small sales office in Delhi, a growing, scaling manufacturing footprint in Gujarat. So fairly well hedged from a footprint standpoint.
Okay, and we can't end this conversation without taking perhaps a note on what's happening in Gujarat at the moment. How far is the construction? When can we see the first likely batch of semiconductor coming out of Gujarat?
No, I think the construction is happening in full swing. You must have noticed we're working with Tata Projects, which is our construction partner, and they have been doing a good job so far. We have mentioned in public domain that we will have shipments come out in the early part of next year. We are still tracking and trending to that, which would still be a wonderful, wonderful outcome given we just made an announcement a little over a year back. So in less than 2 years, we're going to see the first set of India assembled test package product rollout from our Gujarat factory.
So it's about June and July of next year?
Maybe a little earlier than that.
Okay,
a little earlier than that, yeah.
All right.
More in the first half of next year, yes.
Okay, so plans are afoot on that. And, you know, I also have to quickly talk about our ambitions to become a semiconductor hub. A lot of people out there would say India is a little too late perhaps to join the bandwagon of becoming a semiconductor ecosystem, way far behind Taiwan at the moment. What does it take to get there? Do we have enough, are we prepared enough to get there? And what will it take for India to actually become a major player in semiconductor space?
There is no point reflecting on why we were late. There are some good reasons. Now that we are where we are, what steps do we take to probably bridge the gaps that we have? What I find is in terms of policy, financial outlay, initiative, momentum, direction from the Prime Minister's office, also a very healthy sense of competition among all states. Now we've come to a point where it's interesting to note that almost every state wants to have the rightful fair share of R&D footprint, manufacturing footprint. There's a healthy competition brimming. I get calls from almost every single state leader saying, hey, listen, come to state A, B, C, which is all very healthy because they're all benchmarking their policies, they're benchmarking their teams, the quality teams that they have at various levels. So I think we are at a place where I think a lot of odds are beginning to diminish against our story. All the large semiconductor players have footprint in the country, some more, some less, but they are all there. They're all bringing their own value and ecosystem, and they're all working with the government of India in some form or shape. So I am an optimist. I feel like we are on the right track.
First question first, this is a rapid fire round.
Okay.
What describes your leadership style?
I think my style is largely instinctive and I have a situational overlay on top of it, but I largely go with my instincts.
Okay, and how do you ensure that your personal values align with that of Micron?
Listen, the Micron values are built on strong personal values, so I have hardly seen a dissonance or or a distance between what I believe and what Micron believes in, thankfully aligned.
Okay, and how do you prioritize between short-term gains and long-term sustainability at Micron?
Okay, if you have to make a choice between short-term, long-term, we hedge towards long-term.
Okay, and can you share a moment where you had to make a very tough decision, and what did it really take for you to do it?
The tough personal decision for me was to move back from the US. While I was born in the country, India, I never worked in the country. So I think that was an important decision which showcased my ability to move out of a comfort zone and go and embrace something which is not necessarily all comfortable, but inspiring and motivating.
So, all right, and how's the coming back been so
no
far?
Regrets, no regrets, absolutely the best decision of my life. Okay. India is inevitable, shining and doing really well, both in terms of semiconductor and tech, so no awkward reflection or regret on that count.
All right, and what's one thing that you believe, a trait that a leader should have?
I think integrity for me is foundational. It's like stating the obvious, because that kind of has an impact on how you make decisions, the kind of people you hire, and the kind of bets you make. So for me, that's foundational.
Okay, and how do you really foster a culture of transparency in an organization? What do you really do to build that trust and transparency?
Shweta, I'm a big believer, and many leaders are, what I call the tone at the top. The kind of tone you set at the top, very often if you have the right tone, your teams kind of tend to follow the same. There's a waterfall effect. Very soon you find the organization largely marching towards that set tone. So for me, that is very important.
What is it that you do to mitigate conflict?
Listen, I try to generally hire people with a strong emotional quotient. You don't always succeed. That by itself ensures that people have their own conflict management styles for most part. And the culture you set, if it is a toxic culture, then people start thriving in things that they're not supposed to thrive on. So creating the right culture, hiring the right set of people by itself solves most of the problems.
Okay, and if you were to hire someone at Micron today, what qualities will you be looking at?
I always pivot attitude over intelligence. So if you have a very strong attitude and a fire in the belly, you are welcome to join us at Micron.
Okay. And how do you really focus on professional development, not at the cost of personal development, holistic development of your employees?
There are some who want to go and build a career in technology and tech. There are some who want to become great leaders and managers. Needs are always unique, so more custom driven. We have a platform overlay of programs that we do for leaders and managers, but I am more of a fan of micromanaging those leadership classes and courses for employees.
Okay, and innovation is at the center of everything that stands in Micron. How do you encourage that innovation?
Micron thankfully has a great pedigree in innovation. It is the 17th largest innovator in terms of number of patents globally. So we clearly had a great little pedigree to fall back on. But even from the day one of our operations, it became important that execution, but not at the cost of innovation. Mm-hmm. So our engineers are almost trained to assume and believe that whatever they build, design and develop has to have the innovation quotient, and we make sure that efforts are rewarded, recognized, showcased, so that the next generation of engineers joining us feel that they got to follow the same tone and direction.
And to be more creative. All right. And one of the things Micron is also known for is its diversity, hiring and inclusion. What measures do you have in place, or what do you really do to ensure that your workforce is diverse when you're hiring?
We have a challenging problem because the India talent pool from a gender diversity standpoint is not very strong. The last data I remember seeing was 12% of our engineering workforce is gender diverse. But at Micron, we have over 27% of our engineers who are gender diverse. So we are almost intentional about it. We are, of course, selective about it, and we have a more programmatic approach.
You said something on the lines of you have to walk like an MD, you've got to talk like an MD, be a leader. So how do you ensure that that authority is maintained while also being approachable?
Yeah, listen, I would say that the beauty, when I moved back from US to India, I soon realized that the concept of hierarchy in India is very unique and different. So if you try to be someone, you cannot be that one. Hopefully your actions, your words speak louder than who you want to become or you want to be. So I think just being yourself and wanting the best outcomes for the entity that we operate in and the company that we are part of by itself is good enough.
Okay, and what legacy, Anand, would you like to leave behind?
I think I would like to be known as a foundational country head for Micron that set the right DNA in terms of execution, innovation, outreach, programs, and obviously hiring a world-class team that can take the legacy forward.
All right, Anand Ramamoorthy continues to be with us, sir. As a leader in semicon space, what impact do you see of transformations in AI in your business?
Hey, listen, everyone is talking about AI, so does Micron, and I'll tell you why. At the heart of AI is the ability to manipulate and play with data. And data, to remind people, actually lives in memory. This is, data lives in memory. Memory is at the heart of everything intelligent in any compute platform. So clearly, it's very important and foundational to us. AI has two shades for us. Literally, we build products to enable AI. It's more of an enabler. You think of all the leading edge GPU, TPU platforms. We're going to be a key part of that ecosystem going forward. So clearly, enabling products, high bandwidth memory, mainstream memory, DDR, and storage products. That's one part. But we're also a big consumer of AI. We're looking at how to use more and more of AI in our design tools, design automation, manufacturing flows. So both enabler and a strong user of AI. The way I see of it, Shweta, AI has interesting implications from both a breadth, volume, and depth standpoint. What I mean by that is breadth is critical because, like in semiconductors, we have a lot of private data. We generate so much data on our manufacturing floor, on our design flows, and that is private to us. We won't share it with anyone. So we have to figure out how to make the most of it. So we will leverage custom tools, but we'll also leverage our own in-house tools to make the most of it. That's the breadth part of AI. The depth of AI means is good news for Micron because you look at the new generation of AI PCs, AI smartphones. Essentially, what it means is I need more DRAM, I need more storage because I got to be running a lot more at the edge. We are also seeing the same happen at the cloud side for training tools. And the last but not the least, we're looking at the volume of usage. Right. The volume of usage is essentially you and me using a lot more machine-to-machine interactions. So the whole landscape is refreshingly poised for growth, and we are going to be a key foundational player.
All right, and as the AI sector grows, there are also concerns on the workforce side, whether you would need as many engineers, whether you would need as much talent pool. What sort of impact are we looking at as far as your workforce is concerned? Do you still need that many people with advances in generative AI for that matter?
True. Listen, a fair question, and it's the right question to ask. Specific to our domains, I'll give you an example. We do a lot of what is called layouts in our engineering, right? Now, layout is done manually, but we find that if we use the right level of assist tools in layout verification, different parts of our design chain, we are getting better productivity, better outcomes. The human interference, human intervention is still foundational and critical. I think it's going to help us reach better outcomes. Our workforce gets constantly reskilled. So the layout, the entry-level layout engineer becomes more of a senior layout engineer who's working with the right AI tools. So we are not too worried about replacement of jobs. We are actually more optimistic about outcomes that we generate. But I do believe there are areas outside of semiconductors where AI might have a short-term impact of in terms of employability and employment. But over time, we've seen technology generally gets embraced productively, and we have steady-state conditions happen sooner than later.
All right, and I also want to spend a little bit talking about what Micron is doing as far as skilling is concerned and what it is doing to get the right sort of talent on board. Now, you have a lot of programs. You are known for your diversity. You're known for your inclusion. How do you really build that diversity? How you build inclusion is important. I think our audience would like to know that. Sure. What are you doing to hire young people?
Yeah, true. Now, Shweta, we are really young. I'll tell you, our median age of the Micron India is 32. I'm a bit of a dinosaur here, and that median age is because many of our engineering competencies are not readily available. We have to hire people, train them. So we have a very strong college program. Almost 30% of Micron India is recent college graduates. So we have a big focus on hiring from the top colleges, training them, sending them over to other sites to gain knowledge and come back and execute. So clearly a very strong program on college hiring. I talked about URAM in one of our earlier conversations. That's our flagship program to engage and connect with colleges on not just hiring, but on research, curriculum intervention, student industry interactions. We also have a very, very interesting return to work program. I feel strongly about it. My own wife had taken a break from work before she decided to come back, and I knew that she was feeling rusted, not feeling confident. So we have a great program whereby women who've been out of active corporate for various reasons, personal and otherwise, get a fair chance to come back. So we have a program that we've done a few times over, runs very well. It's called Return to Work program for women in corporate. We have a very strong diversity initiative at many levels. Diversity is essentially a topic that has to be handled at many levels and layers. It's a combination of push, pull, some nudges, but overall the intent is to ensure that we have a very inclusive, diverse set of employees operating out of Micron India. So lots of programs that kind of enable that. But more importantly, we also piggyback on many government initiatives, right? There are some things we do on our own because we have unique needs, but we are also truly participating with skilling initiatives from the Government of India, state government. That way we have a great amplification effect both locally and at a national level.